Yo, what up? I'm Josh from Budget Church Livestreaming. I've got with me today Kade from Collaborate Worship, a YouTube channel with tons of great resources here with me today.
Hey, it's good to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Let's jump right into it. So, there's a lot of different ways that you can choose to mix audio for a live stream and make it sound good. But one of the ways that is very budget conscious, which resonates with, people here, is to just create a bus mix on your front of house mixing console. So I know you're a big fan of that at your church. Can you talk about some of the most important things that you're looking out for when you're building a bus mix for broadcasts?
I love the bus mix solution because it's simple and you can still run your sound with one volunteer that's focused on the room, but yet you're getting a great live stream mix at the same time. So, my top tip is to keep it simple. Just keep everything post fader. That way you can focus on the room and provide that great live stream experience. There's just a few changes that you're going to have to make to get that great experience because there's a few things that'll translate differently over the live stream versus what's going on in the room. One of the first things that comes to mind is you're probably going to have to decrease your vocal levels in the live stream just a bit. Like I'm saying, like 3 to 5 dB. That's if you run your lead vocals like we do in our room. They're the most prominent thing in the mix. We want them to fill up the space. I don't want any word lost in the mix so that people can follow along and sing along. But if you keep the vocals that loud in a live stream mix, you're just like, wow, that's a lot of vocals. And so bring them down if you need to fix that problem. And then if you have acoustic drums, you'll need to leave them like at 0 dB in your live stream mix. You may even need to boost them a little bit, only if you're using acoustic drums. This does not apply to digital drums. Mm-hmm. But acoustic drums, you're getting that acoustical energy in the room from the actual drum. And so you don't get that in the live stream mix. So you're going to have to compensate for the difference. But if you're bringing down your direct instruments and your vocals down by 3 to 5 dB, usually leaving your drums at 0 dB keeps them where they need to be, but don't be afraid to boost them a little bit if you need to. And then, of course, the pastor's mic, any kind of speaking mics, they need a little bit of a boost. For whatever reason, they never come across as loud in the live stream as they sound in the room. So I always have them hanging out about plus 3 to 5 dB on the live stream mix itself, just to make sure that they're always coming through nice and strong on the live stream. I think the most frustrating thing for somebody who's on the other end of the live stream is if they can't hear the pastor speaking, or if we go from like this loud music to the pastor, and then they're having to turn up the volume on their phone or whatever. So we want to solve that problem for people. Now, the other thing is you have to compress everything on a live stream. Mm-hmm. This is something that didn't matter as much before live streaming. I would only compress vocals pretty much before that, not really pay attention to the other things. But when it comes to live stream, you really have to narrow down that dynamic range even more so you can get the loudness that you need on the other end. Because again, another thing that's frustrating for the people viewing the live stream is if they have their volume all the way up and they still can't hear it. Yeah. So you solve that problem with compression. So you have kind of layers of compression going on. You're compressing all your channels one at a time. You're compressing each vocal, each instrument, and then you also compress the overall live stream mix. And then on top of that, you add a limiter to the live stream mix. Now, that all sounds like a lot, and I could get into the weeds about settings on things like that, but I actually have a free course for people that walks you through all of that. If you go to collaborateworship.com, there's a bar at the top where you can enroll in my free live stream mix made simple course, and it'll give you all the details that you could ever want, including one EQ filter that I recommend adding to your overall live stream bus. It's a high shelving filter at about 10 kilohertz. You boost like 3 to 6 dB. And what this does is it helps you overcome the quality loss from your actual mix to YouTube. Because I don't know if you realize this, but whenever your audio goes to YouTube or to Facebook, they're compressing it like crazy. And then, you get on there and you're like, why does it sound so dull? Like there's no shine to it. So adding that little boost in that really high frequency range will just give it a little bit of shine back to it.
Yeah, definitely. And just a little plug. I went through that course and learned more in, 20 minutes or so than a lot of hours just searching YouTube for things. And some of the things were things I already knew from searching for hours and hours and hours on YouTube, but condensed down into something that, wow, I wish I knew about that 2 years ago.
Sweet, man. Good to hear.
So you mentioned, making sure to compress your different instruments and a lot of compression just all over the place, not just vocals. How do you make sure that as you're doing that to improve your broadcast mix, you're not also hurting your mix in the room?
I always focus on the room. And what I've found is that whenever you focus on creating a great room mix, it translates well to the live stream. This is my personal opinion. Not everybody agrees with it, but I never prioritize the live stream over the room. To me, when it comes to church, the room is still where it's at. We want people to come in. Now, I think live streaming is a great thing and it's a great tool. So we still want to provide a great experience there, but not at the expense of what's going on in the room. So would you, if you had a dedicated broadcast mix, would you compress more for that than in the room? Yes, you would. But I think that there's a happy medium that can suit both situations. So when it comes to compression, I'll just give you one thing to look out for. On every compressor, there's a gain reduction meter, and that meter is showing you how much you're compressing that signal. As long as you kind of keep it around that negative 6 dB mark and you're not compressing more than that consistently, you're going to get great compression for the live stream, and it's not going to take away the quality in the room either. Now, if you're compressing down to like 9 dB or negative 12 dB, the vocal starts to lose its presence. It starts to lose its shine. There's not enough dynamic range in the room. You start to lose, just the power of dynamics in a band. So just find that happy medium place. And what I found that to be is about negative 6 dB on that gain reduction meter.
Cool. Writing that down, negative 6 dB. Awesome. Now, do you find after you set up this post fader mix, do you ever go in and tweak that week to week as you've got different band members, different vocalists, or do you find that if you build it right, it stays pretty consistent week to week?
Surprisingly, if you build it right, it does stay consistent from week to week. Now, I recommend that you check it at least once during a pre-service rehearsal. But I'll just be honest with you. Sometimes we just get so caught up in what's going on in the room. We don't even do that at my church. It's like, I'm like, oh man, we didn't even check the live stream this week. And then I go listen to it afterwards, but it still sounded good. So once you get it right, there really isn't a whole lot that you have to do from week to week.
That's awesome. That's good to hear, especially because, a lot of churches that are focusing more on these budget solutions to things probably don't have a ton of volunteers who are necessarily just waiting to be like checking that all the time, and don't necessarily have a ton of time to be doing that either. This is all stuff that we're doing on the board. Everything is after we've gotten these signals. Do you have any tips for some easy things that we can do in the room that can help improve the mix for our live stream and probably the front of house mix as well?
I'm going to blow you away with this one.
Okay.
Vocal mic technique. And people always hate it whenever I give them this answer for a sound problem. If the vocals hold the mic correctly, it solves so many problems. So, you see this in church all the time. Vocals are holding their mics way down here. They're down at their chest. Maybe they're shy singer or whatever. And that wrecks your mix, because now you're picking up all this ambient noise in that microphone. You're adding all this gain to try to compensate, and you're still trying to hear them. And it's just awful. If that vocal would just hold that mic no more than an inch from their mouth, it would solve so many problems. It would give you a nice full sound. You wouldn't get all that extra noise into the microphone and make your live stream sound better. So if you're looking for a no budget way to improve your mix, make sure that all your vocals always hold their mic right up to their mouth. And for vocals that have a problem with that, I'm like, touch your chin with it, touch your lips with it, like whatever it takes, keep that vocal mic close to you, and you just keep on harping on them until they actually do it. Because I've heard sound guys say, well, I can't get them to do it. I'm like, well, tell them again and tell them again and tell them again, because it's that important.
Yeah. So maybe instead something I can spend money on instead of having to convince people to do this. That might be easier.
Yeah, that's always the thing. It's like, or can I use a gate to fix that problem? It's like, no, you cannot use a gate to fix a vocal who is not holding their mic correctly. They need to hold their mic correctly.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Your mix is only going to be as good as the signals coming into it, and that mic's got to be placed right. Well, that's awesome. Thanks so much for the tips and just the info. And again, I'm going to plug that course one more time because I know how helpful it's been for me. Kade, where else can they find you online?
You can find me at collaborateworship.com. You can search YouTube for Collaborate Worship. Collaborateworship.com is where you'll find that free live stream course. I also have other courses like Church Sound Made Simple, X32 Mastery. Just go check all that out at collaborateworship.com.
Great. Thanks so much, Kade. I really had a great time in this conversation.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Great. Until next time.